Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Friendlies, brought to you by the Women's Game. I'm Sam Mewis, and I'm so happy to be with you here again, this time with an interview with Bunny Shaw, Jamaican and Man City striker. This episode was recorded about a month ago when I was in Manchester, right after the Manchester Derby, where Bunny became Man City's all-time top scorer. And so it was recorded well before the unfortunate injury that she suffered this past weekend that may keep her out for the rest of the season. It's so gutting to see anybody get hurt like that, particularly when they are in such incredible form like Bunny. And so, with that said, we're sending Bunny all of our good healing vibes, and we hope that we do get to see her play again whenever her body heals and she's ready. This interview that we recorded with her is really incredible, though, and I'm excited that we finally get to share it with you all. We cover so much. We talked about Bunny growing up in Jamaica and playing soccer with her brothers. We talk about how she reacted when she heard that Man City wanted to sign her. She was so much fun. We had actually never really officially met before this interview, but Bunny quickly became one of my favorite players, one of my favorite people to talk to. She was so amazing to be around, and you guys are about to find out just how awesome she is to hear from. I'm really excited for you to hear the interview. But before we get to that, it's been another busy week here at the Women's Game. We dropped an episode of Good Vibes on Tuesday with Becky, and this was a really special episode to me because when I first started talking to Raj about what I wanted to grow here at the Women's Game, we spoke a lot about building out this network of correspondents and experts, voices from around the world, who would bring us everything that we need to know about all of the games and all of the teams and players around the world of women's soccer. I feel like it's impossible for any one person to be an expert on everything that's happening. And I really wanted to bring in more voices and more people to share with us what's going on in the areas of the world that they're in. So I was so thrilled on this episode to bring on our first correspondent, Betty Glover. Some listeners to Early Kickoff from the MIB Media Network may recognize Betty as an occasional host of that show. Betty is just amazing. She's a sports reporter in the UK. She covers both women's and men's football. And it was so fun to have her on to look back at last weekend's crazy Champions League semifinal first legs and to look ahead at this weekend's upcoming second legs. Chelsea is hosting Barcelona at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday at what will be hopefully a sold-out Stamford Bridge for Emma Hayes' last game in charge at the iconic Chelsea Stadium where the men's team plays. Chelsea are leading that matchup 1-0 against Barcelona, which was a little bit unexpected. And then we have PSG versus Lyon. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern this Sunday morning, where Lyon is up 3-2 on aggregate in that matchup. You can watch both of these second legs live and free this weekend on DAZN. I can't spoil what Betty and I predicted for who we think will win these matchups and end up at the Champions League final in Bilbao on May 25th. So you're just going to have to go back and tune in either to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts to hear our thoughts on Tuesday's episode about the Champions League. Okay. Also this week, I was a speaker on a panel at the Business of Women's Sports Summit in New York. I actually flew in and out of New York on Tuesday. It was a very busy day, but I got to meet some incredible people who are just as excited about women's sports as I am. I also got to grab dinner with Lynn. We ate cute little matching chicken sandwiches at this cute little restaurant, and we shared a plate of halloumi. We got all caught up. I was so happy I got to see Lynn's cute little face. We talked about her wedding, which I am literally so excited about. I'm treating it like it's my own wedding. We got all caught up about Gotham and, my recent adventures in just making homemade butter and being a corporate mommy. Not quite as exciting as her professional soccer life, but that's okay. So before we get to Bunny, I did just want to take a quick moment to respond to this email from Kate P, who just moved to Raleigh. Kate P wrote to us and said, I was a former high school athlete and have followed NWSL and U.S. Women's National Team for years. Listening to you all makes me feel like I'm still a part of a team. Thanks so much for injecting some good vibes into every week. I feel like I'm just hanging out with my three besties for an hour every Tuesday. Kate, I literally love when people say that because I feel like you guys are all my friends too. Kate went on to say, my question is, what do you do when you have a bestie on the team you're playing against, either when you're visiting them or when you're the home team? Do you hang out with your friend before or after the game or trainings, or do you keep your head in the game and not hang out with any members of the opposing team? Such a good question, Kate, and I'm not surprised that you're wondering this. And I also really hope that you're enjoying Raleigh. Usually I feel like you could like maybe grab a coffee in the morning on game day if your game is at night. But the schedules, especially when you're traveling and your team is all staying in a hotel together, you have meals and meetings, it's like pretty busy with like game preparation. So it definitely depends on how close you are with the bestie in the city that you're in, and your schedule. But I would say it's probably more common to hang out with your friends after the game. Even if it's late, sometimes you can just like go grab a quick bite or a drink. Or I used to have like Sonnet and Rose over to my apartment for an hour after the game, and then I would like drive them home. So you just kind of like squeeze in time wherever you can. But really good question, Kate. And thank you so much for writing in. If you guys want to write in, if you have a question or a comment, you can always email us. That's at womensgamemib@meninblazers.com. With all that, I am so excited for you guys to hear this interview with Bunny Shaw. She's just such an absolute joy. So without further ado, here is my interview with Bunny Shaw. I am so happy to have Bunny Shaw on the show today. Bunny is Jamaica's all-time top goal scorer for both women and men. She's also newly, congratulations, the all-time top goal scorer for Man City women. Bunny is currently tied for the most hat tricks in the WSL with 5. And you're the youngest of 13 brothers and sisters. You came to America from Jamaica to attend college, starting out for 2 years at East Florida State College and eventually transferring to Tennessee to play for the Volunteers. After college, Bunny went to play for Bordeaux in France for 2 seasons before making the move here to Manchester. You've competed in 2 Women's World Cups for Jamaica, and you have more goals for your country than actual appearances, which is an incredible statistic. We are here in Manchester at Man City's training facility. Thank you so much for coming and talking with me.
You sound like my mom telling me about me. Oh, you're on point there, eh?
Compliments only.
Yeah.
As you deserve. It is so awesome to be with you here in Manchester. We never got to play together, but watching you from afar, I have admired how clinical you are in front of goal for City and for Jamaica. And feel like you just have that special something about you that makes you impossible to stop. Like you can make runs in behind at speed. You can hold the ball up back to goal and distribute. You can finish crosses with your head. It's like any game plan designed to stop you couldn't possibly cover everything. How would you describe your style of play?
For me, I would say I try to make the game as simple as possible because, you know, sometimes when you go in the game, for example, the game the other day with the fans and everything, I just try to stay in my element, try to do the things that I know I can control and try to focus on what I know my strengths are and just try to perfect them in every game. So I just try to keep it simple. But sometimes the simplest things are the most difficult. But I just try to keep it simple and just do the bits I can. Pretty much.
You're so composed in front of goal. Where do you think that comes from? That ability to just stay calm and composed when you have a scoring opportunity?
I would just say training.
Yeah.
Practicing over and over and over and over again. Obviously, in the trainings is where you get it wrong most of the times. But yeah, I would just say like practicing, and then for me, I like to watch myself back after each game or, you know, after the season and stuff like that. So, you know, I watch myself back and be like, because sometimes in the game, you have a lot more time than you think.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I had a lot of time there, but I rushed it, you know? So I think just constantly training, be in front of the goal and just watching back clips, you just get the confidence. And then the more you score, the more confidence you get in continue to doing the same
For sure.
things.
Okay, so you're from Jamaica. You grew up there as a kid. Can you paint us a picture of what football in your childhood was like?
For me, growing up, I wasn't really allowed to play. I always say this.
Because you were a girl?
Because of the lack of opportunities that there was. Because when I was growing up, there wasn't a senior team.
Okay.
So it wasn't until 2014 when Cedella Marley came on. So growing up, wasn't allowed to play football, but football was just always around me. So we played in the streets, similar to like Brazil. So we played in the streets and stones are our goals. So the goal was literally at my gate. So all the time they would kick it, I would hear it at my gate, banging, banging, banging. So sometimes I would go out and I would just sit down.
Yeah.
And then what I normally do, I would normally wait until my mom leaves to then go out and play and then probably shower before she comes back. So I remember one day she left and they asked me if I could just go in the goal, you know, just to just block the goal. And I went in the goal and, you know, like, luckily for me, the person that was in front of me was bigger than me, so they blocked everything. But I was just back there, like, when the ball went out, to just run or get the ball and stuff like that. So for me, that was just it. And then, you know, one day my mom came and caught me and gave me a whooping, and yeah.
How would, if you'd go out and play with boys in the street, how would the boys react? Did they care that you were a girl?
I think at the moment they were shorting players and I was just there and they're like, you want to go in goal? And I was like, yeah, for sure, no worries. But then I just didn't get it, like, what made this sport, everyone gravitate to this sport. Because I was in England for a little bit when I was younger, and then I went back home. And then when I went back home, it was just all about football in the streets. But then on the bigger stage, it's track and field, the Olympics and stuff like that. So I was just like, what is it about this sport that gets everyone? But then when I went in the goal and running for the balls, I was just like, oh my God, like the adrenaline and the excitement that I got. I was just like, oh, I love this, you know? And then my mom came and that was the story pretty much.
Oh my gosh, that's super interesting. So did you have any footballing heroes growing up? I imagine you didn't know of many female players, but did you look up to male players?
I wouldn't say I look up to male players. I think Ronaldinho was big around me with the World Cup and stuff like that, because like I said, Jamaica is kind of similar where you have like little TVs on the streets and stuff. So when my mom would send me to go to the grocery store, to go to the corner shops, you'd automatically see people, the crowd around the little TV watching, and everyone around would always talk about Ronaldinho. And I was like, oh, I like Ronaldinho, you know? And then the more I watch him, I think like he's always smiling, he's always laughing, and when he's doing his skills and stuff like that. So he's one of the main ones that, you know, I liked growing up for sure.
So you're also the youngest of 13. I'm the youngest too, but I only have one older sister. I do feel like being the youngest in general, like, kind of toughened me up a little bit, because my older sister would, like, I don't know, criticize me or just tackle me to the ground or do whatever older siblings do. What was it like being the youngest of so many?
I would say I'm the spoiled one, pretty much.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of you. I would get anything I want, everything I want. Give you a small story. So in the summer, my dad is a shoemaker. Okay. So in the summer, normally we go with my dad, but that summer specifically, we had stayed home, so he normally give us like pocket money. So at the time, my brother would get 100 because he's older than me. So even though I'm the youngest of 13, we all weren't together. We were like all different parts of Jamaica. But it was just me and my youngest brother growing up. Okay. And so my dad would give him 100, and my dad would give me 50. And I would cry and I would make the most of it. Mind you, I'm the youngest, and that money that my dad gave my brother, he had to cook with it to make sure I had something to eat. Oh. So I would cry and I would get so angry, and when my dad come, I wouldn't speak to him, all that stuff. So what my dad did, no, my brother's gonna kick me when he hears this, but what my dad did, my dad gave my brother the 100, gave me 50 in front of my brother, and hid the next 50. So I still ended up with 100, but my brother didn't know. So
you know what you're doing.
So, you know, like, just I would say I'm the spoiled one, because I just get everything.
All right. Okay. Well, so you got your nickname. I heard that your brother gave you this nickname Bunny because you loved carrots.
Yeah, I carrot cake, carrot juice, everything carrot. And
it just stuck. Why do you think this nickname stuck with you?
Because they would make fun of me with it. And I would cry all the time, and I would get so frustrated, and I would hide myself away, and I wouldn't want to go in the streets because I knew they were going to make fun of me and joke around with it, and I hated it. And then one day I'm just like, man, I'm going to embrace this name. When they say it, I'm just going to smile, I'm going to laugh, I'm not going to make it faze me, even though sometimes it did get to me. But I just didn't show that. And then it just slowly faded. The jokes just slowly fade away. And then now everyone calls me Bunny.
And you just totally took it back, and now you go by Bunny.
Here we are.
Oh my gosh, what a story.
Yep.
Okay, so Bunny, you went to junior college first at East Florida State College. When you were deciding to leave Jamaica and come to America, was that a difficult decision to leave home? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like I said, I'm the spoiled one and I'm the youngest. And I remember professional football was not something I was thinking about. Right. I was just like, okay, Mom, I'm going to get this degree, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to try to help the family. That was my plan, right? So initially, when I got to high school in Jamaica, I was going to go to the university in Jamaica. But then, you know, scouts came, and initially I was supposed to go to University of Florida. But then I missed the ACT. So I wasn't able to go.
Okay.
And so I remember I went to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, there's a lot of colleges that want me to play in America. And she's like, no, you're not going. Like, I don't know who you're going to go with. No, no, no. And so my mom was adamant that I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad came in from work one evening and my dad was just like, let her go experience life. Like, you need to let her go. If she don't like it, this is always home.
Yeah.
Just let her be, let her experience it. But in the moment, I was excited until the day when I'm actually leaving. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm actually leaving everything I knew.
Yeah.
My mom did everything for me. So this is like me learning to do everything all over again. And yeah, I remember I left and I went to America and everything just seemed different for me. Like, because Jamaica was all I knew. I would travel a few bits, like to the Caribbean islands and stuff. But Jamaica was the main part where I knew everything. So when I went to America, it was a big shock. But then Jamaicans came and...
Right. Well, so then you ended up transferring to Tennessee. Is that where you had a lot of Jamaican track and field friends? Is that what you had said?
Yeah.
And when you were at Tennessee, you also, it sounds like you were more comfortable there. Is that true?
Yeah, I was.
So you also were playing so well and maybe realized that playing professionally was starting to maybe be a part of the picture for you. What was that like? Did you have to convince your family?
You know what? So when I went to Tennessee, in track and field, like in college and when you go pro in track and field, like if you go pro and you travel, anywhere your coaches go, you go with them as a track and field. So when I went to Tennessee, there's three, but two specifically, one from Bahamas, one of my friends from Bahamas, and one from Antigua, Barbuda. They came, but they were like running at the Olympics, running against Usain Bolt and all this stuff. But they were from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So my roommate, she's Jamaican, and she introduced me to them. And I'm telling you, like, when I heard that they're professional, the way they carry themselves, the things they eat, I just always wanted to be around them because I found it just so interesting and so cool. I tell them every day, I'm like, you guys are really the ones that, definitely helped me to say I can actually go professional.
Yeah.
And yeah, when they came, they just changed my whole perspective from going pro, and they tried to they didn't do much, but the little that they done was so much for me. Like the stuff they would eat, I'm like, what is that like? What is that? And they're like, oh, this would do this for your body and stuff like that. And I'm like,
so you just saw an example of somebody else being the very best they could, and you said you wanted to do that too.
No, initially that wasn't pro. That was just me. Just wanted to look the way they look because they were fit and lean, and And I'm like, oh man, And then we qualified for the World Cup.
Yep.
And when we qualified for the World Cup, I was still in college, so that was the October.
This was for the 2019 World Cup.
Yeah, so that was 2018, the October 2018. Still no pro.
Yeah.
I'm graduating 2019, so I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
January came now, and I remember my coach from college came in and he was just like, Bonnie, like, you need to consider going professional. And I'm like, Coach, when I came here, we had a plan, and the plan was to get the degree and go home to help my family. But he's like, this is another way you can also help your family as well. And I was like, what you mean? Like, and he basically went through everything and broke it down for me. But it didn't hit me until I went to the World Cup. So I signed at the World Cup. So when I went to the World Cup, I was just like, oh my God, because everything was just different. The World Cup was first time ever playing in front of so many people and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. Because growing up, I was very shy and in my shell and all that stuff. And going to the World Cup, and then I was just like, oh, everyone's the same. Because, when you hear growing up, you're a professional, you're like, oh, they do all this type of stuff. But then when I got there and I'm like, oh, I'm playing against professionals, like, oh, they're the same. Like,
and like you saw yourself in that. You were like, I'm already doing that.
So I'm like, wait, if I'm here and they're professional, that means
I can be professional too.
So that's when it actually came to me.
So you had been playing in America with your college team at Tennessee. And then I had read somewhere that you really wanted to improve your game technically. So you decided not to enter the NWSL. You wanted to go play in France.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit more about why you felt your game could improve the most by going to Europe first?
Okay, so obviously going through college, playing in America, you watch the league, you hear about the players in America. But I think America is a very physical league, like very physical. It's quick and you go. It's all about go, go. It's just go, 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 go. And my college and the SEC, it's kind of similar.
Yep.
You're going, 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 going. And I was keeping up and I was scoring and I had all that. But I felt like initially when I took on the striker's role, because when I went to Tennessee, I wasn't a striker. They made me into a striker.
Okay.
So
were you a midfielder?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I went to Tennessee and they turned me into a striker, some of the little bits in the little spaces, because initially midfielder, you get the ball, you pass. There's no dribbling and you know what I mean? So I felt like I needed to work on that more. And my college season was coming to an end. And I was just like, if I'm going to push myself and be the best that I can be in this position, I feel like going abroad will definitely help. So that's the decision that I took. Didn't know it was what the consequences was to be. Was I going to enjoy it or not? I just took that chance, just as though I took the chance to go to America for college.
Wow.
So that was...
I'm like so struck by your constant desire to just become the best you can and to push yourself outside your comfort zone to grow as a player. And you had mentioned to me before we started this that the transition to France was difficult for you. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, because like I said, I left Jamaica and I went to America knowing that I was going to leave home. But then Jamaica was with me in college because I had Jamaican teammates always. Mm-hmm. But then when I left America and went to France, the main thing was the language to begin with. Mm-hmm. I struggled with the language. And then going shopping, moving about, I was just always struggling. My apartment was literally the size of this table, like literally so small. I had a little scooter that I would go to training with. Sometimes the rain would wet me and stuff like that. So looking back, it was something that needed to happen to me, because for me, it's like when I travel, I like to see different cultures, different environments and stuff like that. So I definitely say being in France definitely helped me and shaped me as a player. But it was a difficult experience for sure.
Well, despite the difficulty of the language and the rain on the scooter, you were scoring buckets of goals when you were playing for Bordeaux. In your second year there, you were the top goal scorer in the league with 22 goals in 20 games. Did you feel immediately like your game was growing in the ways that you wanted it to when you played in France?
So you know what happened? That was COVID. I'm going to tell you that was COVID because I remember Kathleen, one of my teammates, she transferred as well. I remember she wanted to leave at the time when I got there, but they didn't allow her to leave or whatever. So we got close. So we were both struggling at the time and we needed that break because mentally it was getting to us and we're basically depressed, pretty much. And when COVID happened, I remember I don't know what the president said. I keep on asking my teammates, like, what is he saying? Like, because I don't know the language. And they said he said you have 24 hours to find your location because it was lockdown. And mind you, I'm in France and I am stressed to capacity. Like, how am I going to get home? The American border is short. And normally I go through America to get home. So Kath, she's going to Brazil. So, she just comes to England, bam, she's off. And so I'm there stressed. And I said, you sure? He said 24 hours. This was like 5 p.m., So we had up until 5 p.m. the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm saying, you sure he said that? Like, you sure? Like, I'm asking my teammate. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Over here, already struggling by myself. And God just works in mysterious ways. I ended up coming to England to going home. When I went home, all that stress came off. I was like a ton of relief. Like,
wow.
Even though eventually it was similar. I was around my family. I was around, people that made me happy. And a ton of relief. And I remember the season, my other teammate, Vanessa, she plays for Leon now. She said, no, I'm just going to stay here in 2 weeks. The corona will be gone. I said, when that 2 weeks come, you catch me when that 2 weeks come, but I'm going home.
Oh,
so it turns out that she had a brother. So she was there with him. So when I came back, I just told myself, it was my last year as well.
Yep.
So I just told myself, I'm going to just give it my all.
Yeah.
It's not the ideal situation, but I'm just going to give it my all and just do whatever I can to put the team in the Champions League position. And It
Wow.
happened.
So when COVID first happened, you got to go home.
Yep.
And then when the league started back up, that's when you came back to Bordeaux and you had an incredible season.
Yep.
And then Man City comes calling.
Yep.
When Man City asked me to come to Man City, I was kind of like, me? Like, Man City is just such a globally recognized club that I felt so honored that they would ever even be interested in me. It took very little convincing to get me to come here to play. Was it similar for you?
Similar, for sure. And initially when my agent told me, I was like, haha, laughing at him, haha. And then he hung up. The conversation ended and he hung up and I'm just like, wait, oh, is he joking or is he serious?
Yeah.
So I called him back. I said, you didn't.
Is this real?
Yeah, you didn't get back to me. And he was like, he started laughing too. He always laugh. We always joke about, but he started laughing too. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And it took me like days, like proper. I would go days, I'm telling you. I would go to training and I would just have a smile on my face. And they're like, you're happy today? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to Man City.
And then by the end of the week, we had the conversation again. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in. Like literally.
Yeah.
I'm in. Like there was no breakdown or anything. I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm in. And I followed Raheem Sterling as well. And he was here as well. So I'm like, I'm in.
It was an easy sell for me to come here as well. Since you've been here at City, you've played incredibly well. You've continued your run of scoring for him. You scored 31 goals across all competitions last year. You were named as one of the final 30 candidates for the Ballon d'Or. And you've also scored 5 hat tricks, which is tied for the record in the WSL. When you are driving forward with the ball at your feet, you're really just unstoppable and it's so fun to watch you. How has being here at Man City, scoring all these goals, being in this environment, how has this club set you up to become one of the best strikers in the world?
Definitely. And then the players that I'm playing with and training with day in, day out, definitely help to elevate that as well. But when I came here, initially, like, it wasn't, I was struggling a bit. And one day I was coming in from training and Lucy was coming in as well. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she was like, you sure? And I'm like, I just can't get the way they play. Like, I cannot get it right. Like, I don't, because, you know, Man City plays a specific type of way.
Yeah, and this is Lucy Bronze.
Yeah, Lucy Bronze. And I was saying to her while we were walking in from training, I cannot get this right. Like, I don't know if here's for me. And she was just like, she started laughing because they always laugh when I talk for some reason. But she started laughing and she was like, no, but like, you focus on what got you here. Like the bits that you do well got you here. There's something that they saw in you that they said, okay, we want you. And at that moment, I was just like, wow. And then I called Raheem and I told him the same. After I had a conversation with Lucy, I called Raheem. And I was like, I can't get this right. Like, I said the same thing to him. And he was just laughing. And he was just like, when I came from Liverpool, I struggled a bit. They play a certain type of way. You just have to trust the process, believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself. And I put Lucy and Ryan together, both, the comments from both. And I was just like, kind of makes sense here. Like, you know, so I'm just going to continue working, continue watching the videos, seeing how I can improve my game, seeing how best I could do to help the team. And by doing that, it felt a little better day by day by day. And then a couple weeks later, I called Raheem. I said, it's working. And he's like, he's laughing. He's like, I told you, like, you just got to believe in yourself and just do all the right things and focus on you first and foremost before you can focus on anything else. Wow. And I just kept at it. I kept believing in myself. And the confidence comes from scoring the goals. And as the game come, I'm striving.
Wow. Yeah. That's so amazing to hear that those connections helped you play your best here.
Yeah.
What incredible resources that the club has to offer. Okay, so speaking of connecting with your teammates here, I heard that, I was talking to Esme about you the other day, Esme Morgan, your teammate here at City, and I heard that you love dancing and music.
No.
That's what you told me.
Calling me out. I love music.
I love music.
Yeah, I love music. And it's like, sometimes I'll be in the gym and I hear some music and they always know. Because it's you know, music gets me going. Like, I have to listen to good music before I go on the pitch. Whatever that means, coming in for training, going out for a game, gym, I have to. But sometimes I'm in the gym and I'm like, who's playing music? Like, I would. And
because you don't like it?
Because no, I don't like it. Because so they would always laugh. And when I would come in sometimes from gym, come in and I would hear the music, they would just automatically laugh because they know that I don't like it. But to be fair, we have some of my teammates, to be fair, they do have a good vibe. But the dancing bit, I just move about a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm the best dancer, but I just move about a little bit, this coordination.
Yeah.
But the music for sure, I love it. The music has to hit right for sure.
So your team here, City, is in the title race this season, and you just broke the goal scoring record just the other day in the Manchester Derby. I want to ask just a little bit about this team being in the race for the title. If you could talk a little bit about that, and then I want to ask specifically about your goal the other day.
Okay. In the beginning of the season, we always set out goals of what we want to achieve, and we knew we fell short in some of the games last season where we could have won the game or we didn't finish the game out and stuff like that. And we would come back and we would have the same conversation. What can we do for the next game? And then we'll go out and we'll do the same thing. So I think last season, when we came back for this year, we just set out strict goals of what we want to achieve, how we want to be day in, day out, whether that being in the gym or out on the pitch and the standards. And, for me personally, my teammates, we have high standards. For example, Alex Greenwood, I always talk about her. She's probably going to be like, again, Bon, but whatever. Sometimes you hear me and Alex, you think we'll never speak again. But that's just the level that we have for each other. She knows that she can be on me and I know that I can be on her. So I think, and that comes with confidence as well, because if she had told me that probably my first year, we would have probably been in a fist fight, to be fair.
So you're saying she's just expects a lot from you. She holds you to a really high standard
so
in training.
Think from the season that I've had, I think this season and this team now, we can actually look at someone and definitely be on them without feeling like, oh, they take it personal or take it serious. But yeah, I just definitely think that this year there's been a massive shift in terms of wanting to get the 3 points no matter what, dying for them 3 points. So I think that was probably the biggest thing compared to this year and the past seasons for sure.
Yeah. And so then just the other day, your goal, you told me before we started this that you didn't know right away that it had broken the record and that you looked up onto the screen. But can you just walk us through, you're making a run forward, Jess Park slots you in behind. Then can you just walk us through the next minute? What goes through your head? What happens?
So Jess wins the ball. I'm in her ear, drive, similar to the goal, Chelsea, but we were closer. So I'm yelling, drive, and then I just yelled, Jet. If you watched it, I yelled so loud, she actually looked. And I was like, Jess! And then she looked and then she played, to be fair, that was all Jess. And then she played the pass to me, but I was goal side of the defender. So I knew that once I'm goal side and I put myself between me and the ball, if you touch me in the box, it's going to be a foul.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I didn't even want to go down. I'm just going to focus because I feel her falling over behind me.
Yeah.
But I'm just I'm going to keep the ball as close to me as possible, take the touch to see if the goalkeeper would actually eventually commit. And then by the time I took the second touch, she was already on the floor and the goal was, the corner was wide open. So I just slotted in.
And how did you feel when it went in?
It's a derby,
I know you were talking to the crowd. It was awesome.
Yeah, because I was just going crazy. I enjoyed them big games. For me, I really enjoyed them big games. And then I was walking back. Himpo was like, Bon, and I was like, yeah. And she was like, look up. And then I was like, oh, yeah. Because in the moment, I didn't remember. I remember that if I scored, that would have happened. But in the game when I scored, I was just like, it's Manchester United, come on. You know what I mean? So then when I saw it on the big screen, I was like, oh, and I was just trying to play it cool,
Oh my gosh. And how has it felt since? Do you feel, was that ever a goal you set for yourself? Do you feel honored to hold the record or do you just want more?
I think for me, it's for me, when I have goals for each game, I wouldn't say, because I try to take everything a game at a time. So this game is behind me now. I just think for me, I just focus on this game. What do I want? How can I help the team? Even if I don't score in this game, sometimes you're out there. Sometimes when you're playing, you're like, okay, today is not really my day. But if I can make a tackle or make an assist or win that ball back or something to get my team going, then that's enough for me.
Yeah.
So I think, I wouldn't say I set myself targets, but I think once you do that, because I tend to focus on the small wins first before, because I think them small wins are just as important as the big wins. So once I'm doing all the right things that I can, I think at the end of the day, those things are going to show for it. So that's basically me.
I want to talk to you quickly about your experience with Jamaica. You were part of the Jamaican national team that qualified for the 2019 World Cup, becoming the first Caribbean nation to ever qualify for a Women's World Cup. Can you talk to us a little bit about football in the Caribbean in general? Your team qualifies through CONCACAF, which historically has been difficult to get through. What do you think some of the Caribbean nations need in terms of support in order to continue their growth and success on the global stage?
It's definitely getting better because you see the likes of Haiti coming through, Panama as well. But I think structure is one, financial stability as well, and I think resources is the biggest thing, because in the Caribbean, the fields that we play on, when we train on them fields and go to play, let's say in the CONCACAF, it's different. The ball moves quicker. For me, when I was in Jamaica growing up, playing on the bubbly pitches and the rough pitches, when you then go to America to play in the CONCACAF, you struggle because the ball moves quicker and you tend to have to run more, and sometimes that does not give you the best results. So I think it's definitely improving, and it's improving because now there's a lot of players that leave the Caribbean and now are playing overseas. Whether a couple of years before, most of the players were in the Caribbean. So now the players have more exposure now to the proper resources and the pitch. And I'm playing. I'm playing against my teammate, training with my teammate, and then playing against them. So I already know. You get what I mean? So I think that was probably the biggest thing I would say, the resources for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in 2023, Jamaica went to the World Cup, and this time you reached the round of 16. This was the first time ever that either the men's or women's Jamaican national team progressed to the knockout stage at a World Cup. What was it like in 2023, not just making the tournament this time, but competing and having success while you were there?
So 2019 World Cup, I was in college. We only had one player playing professional football at the 2019. One. Wow. So everyone was in college. Shayna.
Okay.
So everyone was in college, vibing out, playing little college football. College football and World Cup is different. So we learned from that experience, and we knew that, okay, if we want to go to the next World Cup and not only, go, but just get out the group and, show the world what we're capable of, we're going to have to adjust and fix certain things. Yeah. And it started with players leaving and playing professional. We need more players playing professional. You can't have everyone playing in high school and college. So we learned from the 2019 World Cup, and then going into the 2023 World Cup, it was very difficult because the planning, some of the games that we were supposed to play before the World Cup didn't happen, and whether that mean the coach didn't correspond with the JFF, but we're just in limbo. So we're kind of worried if we're fully prepared for the World Cup, because I think we're supposed to play 12, 13 games and we end up playing 6 or 7, some number around there. Right. So it was a bit of panic. We were panicking a little bit because we're like, okay, we did all the things that we could control in terms of playing professional and doing well with our clubs and stuff, and coming now and to see that some of the things that we had hoped that would be better from the 2019 World Cup is still the same. So we were panicking a little bit, but ultimately, we had a meeting as a group, and we were like, guys, listen, we're just gonna have to trust ourselves. And we kind of have a point. We kind of had a point to prove, so we kind of had that chip on our shoulder, to be fair. But we came together as a group and we said, guys, listen, we did what we could have. We couldn't do any more. Yep. Yes, the preparation wasn't the best, but let's just go out and compete. Let's just give it everything. Let's just die on that pitch. And it didn't work. My first game I got a red card, so. But
competing, going out.
Exactly. I got a red card. Hey, can't see I didn't give it my all.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, so I think drawing that game. Remember, we were kind of iffy going in with the preparation. So when we saw that we halftime 0-0, we're like, okay, we're doing it. We can, let's just keep pushing. And then the coach would come in and you just, guys, die on the pitch, give everything. We can make substitutions. So we're like, okay, we're going to give everything. Yeah. 80 minutes come, I'm like, oh, we're still in this. Wow. But after that game, I think that that game, that result that we got against France, just skyrocketed our confidence. Like
Yeah.
at that point, we could walk across the water.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely helped and boost our confidence. And going into the Panama game, we got a really good result. And then here comes the big bad Brazil. And we approached it just the same as we approached the France game, because we knew that, okay, if France beat Brazil and we can tie with France, then it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we are as a team. We always like try to analyze and see before we go into each game. But yeah, that Brazil game, as you can see, we were like warriors. We were fighting for everything. And yeah, ultimately we got to, because we gave everything.
Yeah.
Because we gave everything. When we arrived to the round of 16, people were on drips and hamstring is gone, ankle is swollen. We were like thin.
Yeah.
If we had beat Colombia, I don't know if we would have enough players to play England.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Becky Spencer, she was on drip.
Wow.
Like, players were so tired. Because mind you, we didn't even make a lot of changes either.
Yeah.
It's the same team.
Yeah.
The same lineup played most of the games.
What does your team take away from something like that? From a tournament where you did give it your all, you got further than you had ever gotten before. It took so much out of you, but you showed that you belonged there and you guys had success. What do you take with you moving forward now?
We always have a little motto that we say in Jamaica. We say, we're little but we're talawa. So you might have everything and I don't, but once I cross that white line, we're even. Like, you're just as a player as I am. At the end of the day, only your best is good enough, and you want to walk off that pitch and say, like, I couldn't do any more. I couldn't give anything else today.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've taken, that, listen, sometimes you don't have to be the best prepared team, but once you give your all, sometimes the universe can work for you. And in the World Cup, we definitely gave it our all, and we're proud of, we're happy that we were able to bring, the joy back to Jamaica, because like you said, it's been a while that, that has happened. Yes, we went to the World Cup the first time, but we wanted to make a statement this time. And, other Caribbean islands, other people message me from Caribbean say, like, you guys inspired us. We're going to have to keep going, because to be fair, as a Caribbean island, you're like, oh, we're playing against America. We're playing against Mexico. You're like, oh my God. Yeah. But then when you see Jamaica got out the CONCACAF and got to a World Cup, got out the group, playing with, if you had to look at me and if you had to look at someone and say, Jamaica's going to get out the group with France and Brazil, you're going to be like, are you crazy? You get me? So just for them to see that and them to believe that, okay, if Jamaica can do that, like, we can try a thing or two and let's see how far we can get. So I think that's
it's
just
inspiring.
So,
yeah, it's inspiring for everybody else. One more question about Jamaica. Your team has received a lot of support from Cedella Marley, daughter of Jamaican musical legend and football enthusiast Bob Marley. I saw on your Instagram a wonderful tribute to Cedella where you said, when the women's senior program was abandoned in 2008 due to lack of funding, there was no senior pathway. In 2014, 10 years ago, you came in and kept every young girl's hopes alive of one day representing Jamaica at the highest level. Here we are years later, qualified for 2 World Cups back-to-back, all because of your dedication and willingness to ensure we were given an opportunity. Can you just talk to me a little bit more about Cedella's influence and role in your program and explain what it means to you and your team?
Do you have time? I could talk for the next 10 years. But yeah, she's just, she's like her mom, to be fair. She's not just an ambassador. Like, when we were in college, she always checking on us to see if we're doing well. She might not physically, but, people her team would always reach out to see how well you're doing in college. When she comes to England, she comes to our games. Like, she went to Becky's game, my game. So she's always involved. It's not just about just saying you're an ambassador. Like, she's solely involved in our lives. Yeah. Like, literally. And I remember my first time meeting Cedella. We had a camp in Jamaica, and she came to the camp, the house, and she had these glasses on. And I remember I sat down in the living room of the players' house, and when she stepped in, it's almost like I was glued to my seat, because I'm like, oh my God, this is Bob Marley's daughter. Like, before, like I didn't even want to look at her. Yeah. Mind you, she had glasses on, so I don't even know if we had made eye contact or not. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Bob Marley's daughter. Like, And then when they told us that she's the ambassador and everything, I'm like, my first thing is like, she's giving, as I said to my teammates, she's giving Michael Jackson vibe here. Like, you step in, you don't say much, and I'm like, she's just like a boss. I can't even explain, there's not enough words to describe like how she is. And I remember a lot of the times when they said, like I said at the end, when they said, oh, they can't, she said, tell me where it's, that's just how she is. Like, I'm going to show you that these girls can be the best that they can be. Despite whether you think it or not, I'm going to do the best that I can to give these girls an opportunity to show you that they can be the best that they can be. And I think her time throughout the 10 years hasn't been the best in terms of sometimes the treatment that she got, because she came to the 2019 World Cup and weren't able to see us because she didn't have an accreditation and stuff like that. So I think some of the treatment that she's gotten with how much she's given to the program is kind of unfair. But yeah, I think even though she stepped away from being our ambassador, she's still with us. She still communicates with us. She like she said, she's still with us, even though she's not the ambassador. But there's not enough words to describe her. But yeah,
that's
just
amazing.
her, man.
That is so amazing. Well, Bunny, I am so happy that we got a chance to speak today. I've always really admired your game, and I feel like now I have a better understanding of your journey and what brought you here to Man City. So I'll be cheering for your Jamaican team, and obviously I'm always cheering for Man City. I just wanted to leave our listeners with one last question for you. If you could speak to young women in Jamaica who dream of playing football in America or in France or England, what would you tell them to focus on as they grow and try to achieve their own dreams?
I think be the best that you can be and focus on what you can control. Take everything one step at a time. Don't look too far ahead, because I think, like I said earlier, them small wins definitely add up to the bigger picture. So once you focus on yourself, stay locked in. Don't listen to the noise inside the market. Focus on you. Try to do the best that you can do and believe in yourself. And once you do that, I think you can only say, I gave it my all and I tried the best that I can.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bunny. What an incredible interview with Bunny Shaw. She is just one of my new favorite people. She is so much fun to watch. And again, we are sending her all of the healing vibes that we can. I can't wait to see what happens with Man City as this WSL title race wraps up. And speaking of, the Man City interviews are not over, because next week I am joined by none other than City and England defender Alex Greenwood. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast feed. You can always rate and review this podcast, which really helps just get this content out to even more people who will enjoy it. Follow along with us on socials at Women's Game MIB on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Women's Game MIB and subscribe to our newsletter at the link tree in our social media bios and get the latest in women's soccer updates delivered to your inbox every Monday, with always a special little intro from me about my personal life and what I've been up to, which is usually watching soccer on the couch eating treats. I will be glued to my couch again this weekend, no doubt watching all of the Champions League, NWSL, and WSL action. I will then be back on Tuesday with Good Vibes to break down every second of it with Lynn Williams, my best friend. Thank you all so much for being here with us. I'll see you soon.